Here in this video we will explore what humanity might evolve into in the far future. Would we still be looking like shaved apes, or would we transform into a species that looks otherworldly to our own current selves? Maybe we become cyborgs that live for billions of years, or maybe we become so strange that we transcend the material realm. So here are 10 strange human or future human species, posthumans, all of this being a part of speculative evolution seen in various works of science fiction. Let's get to it. The first here are the Celestials from the game called Exodus. The Celestials from Exodus are a group of descendants of humanity who have evolved over 25,000 years in the Centauri cluster of star systems. When the first human settlers arrived there, they began altering themselves through advanced genetic engineering to adapt to the alien environments, to harsh radiation and the long-term challenges of space life. Over the millennia, these modifications became more extreme, like enhancing strength, intelligence, lifespan, and even creating new biological traits that have never been a part of the human species. And this is not just genetic engineering, as natural evolution too also played a role, guided by their technology and selective breeding. As a result, the Celestials split into many distinct subspecies, each adapted into their own worlds and cultures. Some are tall and graceful, standing nearly 3 meters high, with elongated limbs and refined features, while others evolved powerful four-armed bodies with clawed hands suited for heavy labor or for combat. Despite their origins, the Celestials from Exodus now look and think so differently from humans that the two barely recognize each other as the same species. Now heading over to the world of Primeval, here we have the mer creatures, who are these large aquatic beings that may represent a distant evolutionary offshoot or even a possible future of humanity. They are about 4.5 meters long and 2 meters tall, with bodies adapted for a marine lifestyle. Their form blends primate and sea-like traits. They have a thick torso, a primitive-looking face with massive seal-like tail used for swimming, and tusks. The mer queen is this colossal version of their kind, reaching about 11 meters long and 5 meters tall. She is heavily built with thick layers of blubber and a distinctive red marking around her back. And despite their monstrous appearance, the mer creatures show a surprising level of intelligence. They communicate through haunting underwater songs which are similar to whales, and they navigate complex underwater tunnels and display organized hunting behaviors. The character Nick Cutter in the show theorized that the mer could be distant descendants of humanity, evolved millions of years into the future after humans returned to the oceans, and over countless generations, natural selection and environmental pressure would have reshaped the body for aquatic survival. To modern humans, the mer are utterly unrecognizable, only seen as a grotesque hybrid of ape and seals. So next, now we come to the Grimdark, and this has its share of future human subspecies. While most of humanity or baseline humans are still the same as modern day ones, there are quite a few number of offshoots that have branched off, from the stocky stone-born squads to the towering but dim-witted ogrins, from the beastmen to the feral feline hybrids and the aquatic pelagers and the tall longshanks. Humanity in 40K is all but a singular species, as many of these, while still being humans, are termed as abhumans. But the most profound and dangerous of all human offshoots are the psychers. Unlike the physical mutations of other abhumans, psychers represent an evolution of the soul. Over millennia, exposure to the immaterium and its psychic currents has subtly reshaped humanity's collective mind, producing individuals capable of telepathy, telekinesis, and even reality-bending feats or abilities. And amongst these are the Navigators, which are a specialized strain known as Homo Navigo, and they stand as one of the Imperium's most vital and secretive mutations. Born from the ancient gene manipulation during the Dark Age of technology, these Navigators possess the Navigator gene, a hereditary trait that grants them a third eye, often one located in the center of their forehead. This warp eye allows them to see directly into the immaterium, which is the Sea of Souls, and safely guide starships through it. In appearance, the Navigators are unsettlingly alien despite their human origin, with elongated limbs and fingers, a pale or translucent skin, veined with strange patterns, and a face that seems stretched out by generations of isolation, and also of mutation. And when their warp eye opens, it radiates an unearthly light that can drive ordinary humans mad or kill outright if gazed upon. Now, in the storyline of Babylon 5, way after the current political and warring events of that main timeline, around the year 1 million AD, humanity here has transcended its biological form entirely, evolving into beings of pure energy and consciousness, much like the ancient first ones who came before them in this universe. They are no longer bound by linear time, physical needs, or mortality. Instead, they exist as luminous, sentient entities, capable of shaping matter, traveling vast distances, and even altering their own forms at will. In appearance, these evolved humans manifest as radiant, glowing figures composed of swirling energy and light. When choosing to appear in the physical world, they would have to wear encounter suits just like those used by the Vorlons when humanity was still young, and when they were still flesh and bone. These suits here serve as both protection and a way to interface with physical reality, since their natural energy state would be overwhelming or incomprehensible to the younger corporeal life. In the final stage of evolution here in Babylon 5, humanity has effectively joined the ranks of the first ones, which are beings like the Vorlons and the Shadows, who long ago moved beyond material existence. Now in Neil R. Jones' Time's Mausoleum, the future humans here in this book are seen as distant and radically evolved forms of humanity that exist 5 million years in the future. They have transcended biological needs, and they survive through a system of broadcasted energy. These beings are small and efficient, lacking mouths, nostrils, and digestive organs, and they communicate entirely through telepathy. Their appearance is distinctly alien, with 4 arms ending in 8-fingered hands, with jointed legs that can bend in any direction, and 2 black eyes. A cluster of antennas sprouts from their heads, which serve as both their sensory organs and receivers for sustaining broadcast energy. They are effectively immortal, living up to 10,000 years, and these post-human entities eventually abandon an exhausted Earth to colonize the Sirius system, leaving behind a world that can no longer support their once humankind. On the other hand, the Morlocks, originating from H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, are one of the 2 post-human species that evolved from humanity in the distant future, and the Morlocks represent the darker industrial side of mankind's legacy. In the original novel, they are descendants of the working class of humans who once labored underground to maintain the machinery of a decadent surface-dwelling elite. Over the millennia, these subterranean conditions transformed them into pale, light-sensitive humanoids with large, reflective eyes adapted to seeing well in the dark. In later adaptations, the Morlocks' portrayal became more monstrous and complex. The 1960 film by George Pal depicts them as brutish blue-skinned predators with glowing eyes and white hair. In the 2002 film adaptation, the Morlocks evolve into distinct castes: the Hunter Morlocks, which are muscular and feral, the Spy Morlocks, which are small and agile, and the Uber Morlock, a highly evolved telepathic ruler who embodies both intellect and tyranny. Unlike his savage skin, this Uber Morlock is cultured, articulate, and introspective, but also a tragic godlike figure, an overseer who views himself as the guardian of his species, ensuring that they survive through brutal necessity, and he acknowledges the nature of this society, but sees no alternative in a dying world. So going through this rabbit hole, we now reach to the Travelers of the Stars, also known as the Builders, and they are one of the most advanced and haunting future descendants of humanity, depicted in Man After Man, an Anthropology of the Future by Douglas Dixon, which is a work of speculative evolution, exploring how humans might evolve or engineer themselves over millions of years. These beings are the far-flung descendants of humans who escaped Earth aboard interstellar colony ships during the early eras of space colonization. Over countless millennia, they adapted through deliberate genetic engineering and natural evolution, and they become really alien in appearance. They had to alter their biology to suit foreign gravities, atmospheres, and ecosystems until they became almost unrecognizable as humans. Their civilization, once born from curiosity and survival, evolved into a vast, resource-harvesting empire that traversed the stars, colonizing and consuming worlds much like a cosmic locust swarm. When they eventually rediscovered Earth, they no longer recognized it as their ancestral home, viewing it as only another exploitable world, and they reshaped the planet beyond recognition, genetically manipulating the surviving post-human species into tools, livestock, and biomachines, and thus in a way, they were harvesting their own genetic cousins as expendable resources and even food. Something similar happens in another book called The All Tomorrows by C.M. Kosman, and here we have the astronomorphs, which are one of the most distant and remarkable descendants of humanity in the far future. Their origins trace back to the Spacers, which are humans who escaped the horrors inflicted by an alien known as the Q, a godlike alien race that conquered humanity and subjected its various offshoots to millions of years of grotesque genetic manipulations. These Spacers fled into space to escape the Q's reach, adapting into the zero-gravity environments of the vast orbital habitats, and over countless generations, natural evolution and deliberate engineering, they have reshaped themselves to beings perfectly suited for life amongst the stars. Their bones grew fragile and hollow, Their limbs evolved into long, tendril-like appendages, and their fingers multiplied into sail-like extensions. Free from the pull of gravity, their brain expanded immensely, both in size and capacity, allowing them to think in ways incomprehensible to their more planet-bound cousins and even the modern-day humans. Eventually, these evolved spaces became known as the astromorphs, living within vast, self-contained arc worlds built from clusters of zero-gravity bubbles, drifting through the void and colonizing the outer reaches of star systems without ever touching planets. At a point in time, in the far future, after a series of wars against the other posthumans and even the Q, they eventually became the dominant foes, defeating the Q and repopulating the galaxy with the descendants of rescued posthuman species, effectively becoming the guardians of the universe. On the other hand, there are these Therians from the universe of 8043, and they represent an extreme and almost unrecognizable evolutionary path for humanity. They originate from us baseline humans, and they became a race of immortal spider-like cyborgs as they pursue survival and ultimate control over the cosmos. Through advances in nanotechnology, astromorphosis, and cybernetic integration, these humans gradually replace their biological components with mechanical and biomechanical systems, linking their consciousness into a vast electromagnetic grid interface that maintain their minds and desires while robot servitors manage the physical world. This transformation allowed them to manipulate entire planetary systems, and physically these Therians resemble mechanical arachnids with multiple appendages and intricate biomechanical structures optimized for survival in an artificial habitat rather than natural worlds. Their original human forms have almost entirely subsumed by machinery, leaving only the mind intact in a virtual physical kind of symbiosis. Their evolution into these cyborg beings was driven by both survival instincts and an obsession with something called the hyperlife, aiming to prevent cosmic annihilation and achieve a form of eternal existence, and even aiming to stop entropy or the death of the universe. And now we end here with The Last and First Men, which is a book about exploration of the future history of humanity over 2 billion years, speculating the cyclical rise and fall of civilizations, the evolution of human species into post-humans, and the pursuit of knowledge, of morality, and the survival across unimaginable spans of time. Here the modern-day humans are the first men. The second men would only evolve 10 million years in the future, and then the rest would follow suit as time passes by. Here the 18th men represent the ultimate culmination of this evolutionary journey, a perfected form of the 17th species who had kind of like a hive mind but were deeply flawed. The 18th are distinguished by multiple subgenders, with distinct temperaments forming family units capable of acting as a collective group mind, which eventually evolves into a single species-wide consciousness. They are immortal except for accidents, suicide, or violence, and the 18th men achieve near-complete mastery of body and mind and society, yet they retain ritual aspects or practices like cannibalism, which is kind of brutal and barbaric. Their civilization flourished until the supernova of the solar system forces their extinction, at which point they enact a final transcendent act, the creation of a panspermia event or a virus, to spread life and seed the evolution of new sentient species across the galaxy. So those are 10 strange future human species in various sci-fi works, and there are a lot more, and we shall cover them more deliberately in future videos. Anyway, do hit the like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, do also hit the hype button to push this content further. Subscribe to be a part of Legion Notebook, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, boys.